Hello and welcome to the Traffic Report on Traffic Paradise Radio, your weekly F1 news roundup. I'm Immy, and joining me today is Niamh.
Hi!
Hi Niamh, let's get into the news. Our first story today: is the Sauber seat decided? Brazilian sources believe so. It has been reported that Gabriel Bortoleto to Sauber is a done deal, although there has been no official announcement. Bortoleto has an amazing racing record. He won the F3 Championship last year and is currently leading the F2 Championship. Although he is the riskier choice over experienced drivers like Kevin Magnussen and Valtteri Bottas, he is a promising talent and would be a good driver to partner Nico Hülkenberg. It was previously stated that a seat announcement would come in mid-November, so we may know very soon.
Hello, Editing Uno here with some breaking news. This morning, Stake F1 team Kick Sauber announced, and I quote, "After open and constructive discussions with Valtteri Bottas and Zhou, we mutually concluded that conditions to continue together could not be met, so we agreed that it is time to part ways. We would like to thank both for the contribution they have made to the team in the last 3 years. They have been the embodiment of professionalism, using their experience and enthusiasm to support our growth." 45 minutes later, they tweeted, "Bortoleto has been added to the group chat. Welcome Gabriel Bortoleto." So, it is now confirmed that Gabriel Bortoleto will be the driver in the second Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber car, and he has been signed on a multi-year contract, so he will be racing for Audi in 2026. He said that everyone that is a racing driver is dreaming of becoming a Formula One driver one day. And it seems that he has achieved his dream. So congratulations to Gabriel Bortoleto. Exciting times ahead. Back to Immy and Niamh.
Niamh, do you think he's the right choice for the seat?
I think it's quite an interesting one. He's definitely one of the best potentials from F2 right now. However, part of me thinks that it's weird that Sauber's gone for a McLaren junior instead of one of their own juniors, because they have, I think it's 3 juniors.
I think Robert Schwartzman was obviously a junior with them, was racing in them for free practice, but he's just gone to IndyCar, so that's one down.
Yeah, and they have 2 juniors in the form of last year's F2 champion, Theo Pourchaire, and they also have Zane Maloney, who's now going to Formula E.
Yeah, Zane Maloney's gone to Formula E, like you said, and I don't know, maybe the data for Theo doesn't look that good, because they just don't seem to want to choose him.
Yeah, that was weird to me, but I think he's probably the best candidate.
Yeah, I mean, when you have the option of somebody who might go on to win F2 and F3 back to back, which is not something many people have done, you kind of want him. Now, obviously, the question is whether this will be him going over to Sauber and then Audi and severing the connection with McLaren, or if this is like a 2-year loan. I imagine McLaren would want to sort of keep hold of him a little bit, but they don't want to limit him. They're all for getting him a drive.
I agree with that. I don't think the connection would be severed entirely. I think it would be like Ollie Behrman going to Haas. I think it would be a couple years of development that he'd do in the Sauber before maybe going to McLaren. Maybe they're anticipating that, I don't know, Oscar Orlando come the new regs will move to another team.
I think it all depends on what Oscar and Lando do in that situation, because McLaren are happy with their lineup. I wouldn't see them switching either of those two out anytime soon, but then again, they have free will, so they can leave if they wanted to, and I think it's nice to have somebody waiting in the wings. Let us know who you would pick for the seat in the comments down below. Would you go old and reliable, or would you go new and exciting? We all know how crash-heavy last Sunday was. The team that has left Brazil the worst off is definitely Williams. They had 3 crashes in one day, with both Franco Colapinto and Alex Albon crashing in qualifying, and Colapinto also crashing in the race. The last 2 crashes looked absolutely devastating for the cars, not something you would recover from easily. Coming to Brazil, they were already on the limit of the budget cap. Now their 2024 budget is compromised, and they are scrambling to produce spare parts. This is likely to spell an end to their constructors' fight, resulting in a predicted finish of 9th place, 1 place worse than last year. What does this mean for the team's future development?
I think that this will heavily impact Williams to the point where I don't think they will be taking any risks at all with the last few races. I don't think the drivers will be told to push too hard for minimising the amount of damage and risk and stuff. And I don't think it'll affect them that badly, because, I mean, their car's better now, but they're still not always up there.
Yeah, the team, I think, said a while ago that they were moving on to 2025 car development. And then the issue here is with the amount of money they've had to spend on repairs, is that money they could have had for their 2025 car or time and energy they could have had. But yeah, I think what we thought when they managed to get their weight off was that they'd actually be possibly a contender for P6 in the constructors. And I think that's certainly not going to happen anymore. I feel bad for all of them, to be honest. It was not. Williams was sort of looking on the up and up. Now, certainly won't be. I agree. I don't think we'll be seeing any sort of really risky, heroic performances. It's more just, please don't crash the car again, please. Please, we need to bring it back in one piece. We can't afford any more repairs. God.
I feel like that's been an unfortunately common theme for Williams since about 2020-ish, though.
After Max's point gain this weekend, we all know mountains would have to be moved for Lando Norris to win the championship. McLaren don't seem upset at this result. They have insisted that the Drivers' Championship battle was always secondary and that they were more focused on the constructors. This includes when they prioritise the driver. Although Interlagos was not a successful weekend for Norris, it was for McLaren. They gained 7 points on Ferrari in the constructors, extending their lead to 36 points. Does this mean the end for team orders?
I don't think it'll be the end of team orders necessarily. I do think they will just prioritise whichever driver they think has the better chance of getting through. So, whereas before it was always, oh, Oscar, swap with Lando, put him in front of you. I think if Oscar is behind Lando and Oscar is significantly faster, they'll be like, Lando, Oscar is faster than you. Move to the side.
Yeah, I mean, I think some team orders are fine. For me, if you have your second driver, not like that, but like your other driver in the race behind your first, and they have more pace, and you have an opportunity to get more points by changing them, because that driver can hunt the person in head, whereas the other couldn't. I think that's good. I think that's smart. I think, yeah, it will be an end to probably stuff we saw in Brazil, because there's no reason now, when the championship is so far out, to do stuff like make Oscar switch with Lando for a sprint when Oscar was confidently ahead the whole time. That was purely for points. That wasn't like Lando had more pace, because he didn't have more pace in the sprint. But for sure, I think there have been other times in the year where team orders, and obviously back when they were used before, like Zandvoort sort of second half of the season, it wasn't a big media storm, so nobody really thinks about it. But there were times where, say, Lando had more pace than Oscar and they switched, because that made sense. So I think team orders like that are fine, but maybe it'll be less every time Oscar is in front of Lando. Please switch positions. Like P6 in the race.
Yeah, hopefully we get less of that.
Yes. And now, Niamh, who do you think will win the constructors?
I think this is really, really interesting because my head says McLaren because obviously they've got, 36 points? Yeah, they've got a 36-point lead on Ferrari. But my heart, my red, loving heart, my favourite colour is red. I want the red car to win. I want Ferrari to win just because I think it would be really, really funny.
Yeah, I honestly thought, I think McLaren will win it. I thought Ferrari were in with a good chance. They had good momentum. And then this weekend's just been a bit, I don't know. I just think
They were a bit all over the shop.
Carlos is a slightly weaker link compared to Lando and Oscar.
Yeah, Carlos, he's a good driver, don't get me wrong, but it's times like this weekend where it's just like, what happened?
Yeah.
He just sort of spun out for no reason, obviously hit the barriers, brought out a safety car, and it was just like, well,
The crash in qualifying as
yeah, I
well.
forgot about
It's
that.
just he's crashed a lot recently, I can say. And he has highs, like he had Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
but it's about sort of being consistent. And this weekend was a weekend where Ferrari needed to have both of their drivers in the points. I mean, you can say the same for Red Bull. Checo not being there is why they are now third in the constructors.
Yeah,
It's you need to have two drivers and the car to win the constructors. For the most part, you can't just do it with one.
you can't just win the constructors with one driver. Like, even if you've got Michael Schumacher in that car, you still need your second driver, even if it's just to take points off of other people.
Let us know who you think will win the constructors in the comments down below. This year's visit to Interlagos led to some good entertainment, but also lots of questions towards race control and the FIA. Many drivers brought up safety concerns during the race. There were calls for it to be red flagged before the flag was dropped for Colapinto's crash. Having a bad crash was obviously something lots of drivers wanted to avoid. This conversation, as well as the issues with press conference language, has seemingly resulted in the creation of an Instagram account for the GPDA, Grand Prix Drivers Association. After Max's community service punishment last month, there were mentions of a statement being made. So this account could be a vehicle for any issues the drivers have with the FIA. Do we think something big's about to go down?
Personally, I'm hoping for a redo, or like a modern version of the 1982 driver's strike, purely because every single story I ever hear about that is absolutely insane. Like, just, they seem to be having the time of their lives. But no, it seems like an incredibly good idea, even if it's just to get some more clarity about what they do and how they're actually helping the drivers. I do very much agree with a lot of the things that they've been complaining about, such as the press conference language and the flags, because like right across the weekend there was some weird inconsistencies. Like, I remember Max was complaining that some people got to finish their quali lap in Q2, but he didn't, and it took 40 seconds for a red flag to come out. For me, it wasn't even like targeted, that it should have just been stopped right away, because they had marshals on track and cars still trying to set quali laps. I think there needs to be slightly more consistency, which I feel is something a lot of the drivers agree with.
Yeah, with the red flags, I mean, there's always, I'd say, around a 10-second delay, which is on the long end between the yellows and the red being dropped, because they can't just do it instantly, they have to assess. But yeah, 40 seconds was too long. Red Bull, in part, I think, had an issue with it. I don't know, because they thought there was a possibility that they might have been able to make it to Q3, which wouldn't have happened. But from a safety standpoint, it shouldn't have taken 40 seconds. In the sprint, from a safety standpoint, that virtual safety car should have come out sooner. From a safety standpoint, the race should have been red flagged before Franco Colapinto's crash. So many things from a safety standpoint this weekend should have been done differently, I think. And then on that, we have Charles' fine specifically for press conference language, which was 10 grand, with 5 grand being held if he didn't do it again. Whereas the start procedure breach and the race director breach from Mercedes with the tyre pressure, they were both also 5k fines. So to equate swearing in a press conference to be more than incorrect following of race regulation, to me, is something that I'd have an issue with, because I think there's severity there, right? Maybe the tyre pressure, there were reasons for it happening, so I don't think it should have been like a disqualification. But I think maybe the swearing punishment was too much.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the Charles point. My main issue was that the question he swore in response to it was like, "Oh, what were you thinking?" And he was like, "I was just thinking, oh, fuck." Also, a lot of the drivers, their first language isn't English. They will say the first words they can think of.
I will not ever understand this sort of rule against swearing in a press conference. I mean, I'd understand discouraging it. Like, let's not cuss 24/7 because we're a serious organization, right? But the occasional word, if you're, especially the leading question, right, which is in part why Charles didn't also get community service, which I don't even know what that's going to be. But if you want the reaction, you want the thoughts, you want that sort of inside look into what a driver was thinking, because that's sort of how Formula One is, always up close and personal with the drivers, always being interviewed non-stop, never ending, really not like any other sport. So surely you'd want their authentic feelings, not a PG version when no children watch the post-race press conference anyway.
And also, a lot of the drivers have very much PR'd themselves into being more likable, more everything. I don't think we should take their right to express themselves away from them. Like, if they're not allowed to swear, then they're not allowed to accurately give you an idea of what's going on. They're already PG enough. They're already as plain as they can get and still be palatable to people.
I don't know what's going on with this Instagram account, but I hope whatever happens, it sort of gives the drivers more power in a way, because it seems like the FIA have so much power over them, and it just feels really unfair. And so I hope it gives them a vehicle and a sort of outlet to be like, hey, this is wrong, this isn't good, and maybe it's a way to shine more light on it. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, also, my favorite thing about this account is that it follows 23 people. So it follows all of the current F1 grid, Sebastian Vettel and Alex Wurz, who like made it, and Oliver Behrman.
He's just there.
Yeah, he's done enough to be considered a full-time driver at this point. He's like the most employed reserve driver across the entire grid. He's just chilling.
I mean, I think the thought process there as well is, it, of course, speculation how much this has to do with Brazil, but he was in Brazil. So, he did experience the whole weekend. So, in a way. And what, he's been 3 full-time races now? That is a lot.
Yeah, 3 full-time races, so he doesn't qualify for the rookie test at the end of the year anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm gutted for him. I'm sure he'll be fine next year, especially if Haas continues.
He'll get over it, I'm sure. Thank you for joining us. That's all the news we have for you this week. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, as we will have news for you every Wednesday. Thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day or night. Bye!
Bye! Yeah, especially with oh, I had a point. It's just gone out my head. Never mind. I literally started speaking, it was in my head, and then by the time I got to actually saying the word,
No! Oh dear, oh dear.